Good evening. Subcommittee 5 will come to order. Please take your seats. Clerk, if you'll take the roll.
Hey, how you doing? Actually, I should have been looking at this.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. If everyone can get their seats, find a place. We're going to be brief this evening. We have a lot on the docket and a heavy topic, so if you can find a seat and keep your talking to a minimum. I'm going to give a couple ground rules for this evening. First, we're going to be taking up Senator Hanger's bill, and then we'll follow with Senator Evans' bill. We're going to give 12 minutes to each side. If you are supporting or opposing and someone has similar comments, I expect you to be very brief, okay? All right, just so everyone's got that clear. So first, we will start with Senator Hanger's bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 591, which started out as a one-page bill, and now I think it's 59 pages, but I can summarize it very quickly for you because I know y'all have had a long day, and I don't think we will need 12 minutes on either side. I became concerned, and Senator Stanley and I actually had a bill that was looking at gummies that contain high doses of the hemp in the technical, the THC and the THC acid, and they are sometimes in shapes with sugary coatings, different shapes that children have ingested. I think it's candy. It looks like candy. And so he had a bill along that line, and I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to go a little further and look at some of the Delta 8 products that are showing up in the marketplace. So the bill, as it's there, and the reason why it became a longer bill is because you had to address all of the sections that pertain to this. I don't want to complicate it and inject it into the debate you are going to have about the legalization of marijuana and all that's going to be set up there. What I'm trying to do from a safety precaution in access to these products to the general public that may confuse them with something that's just good to eat, that we would basically not allow these gummies that are in the shape of animals and different things like that, humans and toys and what have you, and coated with sugar that children could ingest accidentally and have in Virginia and gotten very sick and high. In other states, there have actually been deaths. So I think that's something we want to do. So that's the first thing. The other area is dealing with the what is referred to as the Delta 8 products. We had a problem years ago with what was called bath salts. We put something in the code to deal with that, and then they figured out ways to make it to get around that with different definitions. So what we ended up going in the bill that has in front of you, which has a whole lot of pages, but it all comes down, and counsel can help you with that because he struggled not only with the large bill that consumed a couple trees for Senator Eben, but 59 pages for me. It just has certain sections that repeat the same things over and over again as you go through. But what it comes down to is that we're going to have precise recognition of amounts that you cannot have. So what we're going to say is that you can't have a product for general sale that exceeds 0.3% per 0.25 milligrams of THC or THC acid, and that it's further limited by the amount of the packaging, the total packaging that you'll see in the enactment clause. If y'all have technical questions, I'm not an expert on this. I just wanted to accomplish those two things. I've seen, and you have probably seen, stores advertising this along the way. There are lots of issues with it. You can go online and you can order cereal that looks like other cereals that will get you high eating a bowl of cereal. And those are a problem. Madam Chair, that's what the bill is about.
Thank you, Senator Hager. I see any questions from the committee. I see Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking to the bill when it's appropriate.
Do we have any questions All right, go ahead, Delegate Adams.
Thank you. Senator Hanger, I just want to say how much I appreciate you putting in this bill. This was the problem with Delta 8 specifically is a problem I brought up last session after one of my patients got accidentally high. I think that's very well crafted. It covers all of the important pieces. I think this is good for Virginia. I wouldn't change it. It's a great bill, and I appreciate it so much, and so do my patients.
Thank you. We did go through 3 different committees, several hours of testimony, and a lot of David's time in crafting it this way. So I owe a lot to him from the technical aspect.
Thank you, Senator Hanger. We're going to go ahead and take support, then opposition. And I'm going to remind everyone, brevity is an art form, and please keep it that way. Those in support.
Madam Chair, members, Tom Atorsha with the Virginia Catholic Conference. We support this bill because it addresses a problem that is currently plaguing the Commonwealth. As you may be aware, I'm sure many of you are aware, in places like Charlottesville and in Richmond, the poison control calls are doubling, and that is largely attributable to Delta 8 in the form of edibles. And as the patron pointed out, those products are often labeled with very attractive marketing and merchandising techniques that are quite frankly targeting children. So some of the products, as the Senator alluded to, are marketed like children's cereal, like Rice Krispies, Trix, Cap and Crunch. And so this bill is a positive step to make some mitigation of the damage that's being done right now. And we thank him for bringing this important proposal forward. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee, Todd acting on behalf of the Family Foundation. We believe this is a timely bill. We support it, and thank you. We appreciate it.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Josh Humphreys with the Attorney General's Office. We support the bill.
Anyone in opposition to the bill?
Madam Chair, Dylan Bishop on behalf of the Cannabis Business Association of Virginia. Not necessarily opposed to the bill. We wholeheartedly endorse the bill as introduced and what the Senator is trying to accomplish. We certainly don't want shapes or products marketed appealing to children. Our issue is with meddling with the definition of marijuana. If we're really trying to target these synthetic cannabinoids, we'd suggest amending the definition of industrial hemp to exclude cannabinoids that don't naturally occur in the plant. So we'll leave you with that, and thank you for your time.
My name is Joseph Domino with Gourmet Hemp Foods. We particularly deal with hemp seed oil. I would like to see in the bill the 3 GRAS notices for hemp seed oil, protein, and shelled seeds. It's not recognized in there. So with a commission, with a broad wand, I just want to make sure we have security. I do have a 1-page statement, and I'll run through it pretty fast. Before I do, I want to recognize Mr. Wright and Senator Ruff for being on the forefront of this industry. They both attended the first Virginia State Hemp Field Day, so thank you so much for your long-term support. Here's what's at stake if the cannabidiol hemp market is abolished. The economic security of thousands of Virginians will be wrung out like a rag, who've been deployed their hard-earned dollars to revitalize small farms and rejuvenated failing strip malls. What's also at stake is the loss of American values. To quote Thomas Jefferson, agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will, in the end, contribute most to wealth, good morals, and happiness. This crop and its profitable potential for small farmers has brought individuals and families back to the land. It will be unwise to prohibit citizens from pursuing an agricultural endeavor such as this. A yes vote for this bill is a vote against wealth, good morals, and happiness. At a minimum, this bill should protect CBD establishments, those Virginia citizens who grow, process, test, and retail all within the state of Virginia. This would boost agritourism and ensure closed-loop production, making it easier to regulate quality CBD products. American citizens simply want to retain their rights to say what they want, to wear what they want, and to grow, sell, consume what they want. The experts within the CBD industry are the activists and entrepreneurs who've given years of their lives to establish their businesses and customer bases. The experts are not this committee, are not normal and the scheming pharma lobbyists, and are not ill-conceived spin-offs of the Board of Pharmacy. A no vote for this bill is a yes vote for American freedom and the preservation of every citizen's constitutional rights and inalienable rights to life, liberty, and property. Thank you.
My name is Graham Redfern. I run and operate Redfern Hemp Company. We're out of Caroline County. And I look at this bill and I'm looking at the definition of marijuana and the redefinition of industrial hemp. We sell a federally legal product under federal laws and also Virginia current laws. But with this bill, I've got 10 employees that are going to be scared for their jobs because the definition of hemp at 1 milligram per package. So we sell to fathers, grandmothers. Y'all probably know a lot of people who use CBD. Our CBD products under this bill and the definition that is going to be redefined will be gone. This will be an illegal product to sell. It is not intoxicating. It has a very minute amount of THC. So I really think that we need to look at how we're redefining hemp here and not pulling in the big market where you've got thousands of farmers, small businesses trying to make it on the non-intoxicating side and then dragging in this with new marijuana laws. And I really do think that it's not the time to make Virginia more of a restrictive state than federal law, and this is what they would do. This currently has more than 1 milligram of THC in the product. But if that is the way we're going to define marijuana now, then we really need, I mean, honestly, you're going to make us a criminal. You're going to make a lot of people criminals with this definition. So I think that if it's the intoxicating, semi-synthetic cannabinoids that y'all are looking at, please don't pull in the industrial hemp side with it. And I really hope that y'all revisit the fact of this being defined as marijuana. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott McStacy. I'm a hemp farmer here in Virginia. I also own a business that sells hemp extracts and different things. I am not against this bill in principle, and I'm not against the idea of separating intoxicating cannabinoids from non-intoxicating cannabinoids. Now, what that means, if you don't understand, which I think a lot of people really don't, because this is relatively new stuff, you know, we're all learning. And I know you guys are all learning at a very fast pace. And you have to, because this is very important to get this right. This is a free market. This is a free market economy. Hemp, as defined under federal law under the 2018 Farm Bill, is anything that is made from a source material that is less than 0.3% total THC by dry weight volume. In other words, if it's made from hemp, it's legal federally. Now, there are two major different areas of cannabinoids. There are, as we know, the intoxicating cannabinoids like Delta-9 THC, which is what the legalization is about regular Delta-9, which is in marijuana. Delta-8, which is a form of THC. It's a cousin, it's an isomer. It's not technically synthetic, but it is different. And it is intoxicating to a degree. There are other ones. There are other intoxicating cannabinoids. But there are also a ton of non-intoxicating cannabinoids which are federally legal that are perfectly fine. They're basically nutritional additives. And that's actually the way the FDA is kind of, so eventually will come down on that. But, you know, the non-intoxicating cannabinoids are not anything to fear. First of all, they help people. CBG is a great example. I take it, and I have a couple of different issues that I use cannabinoids for it. It really helps a lot with anxiety and different things. And I just feel like we need to understand, before we make these decisions, we really need to understand that there's a big difference between the two. There's a big difference. And I think we just need to keep that in mind.
Mr. Brink-Stacy, I believe Delegate Adams has a question for you directly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. And I guess I would just preface, I don't even know if it's a question. I would consider myself somewhat a subject matter expert in this. So I think what has been said so far by the various people are misunderstanding the bill and the contents of the bill. This bill does not prevent hemp farmers from growing consumable hemp. It does not fly in the face of federal law. In fact, it reiterates federal law. Federal law goes on dry weight. And so dry weight is a particularly unusual measurement given that what we're making are consumable products. So ultimately, although you might have a dry weight here, by the time you get to consumable products, it completely changes the infrastructure chemically. So a couple of things. One, you should know, as all people should know, that any form of a ingestible hemp product, whether you call it CBD or a CBG or CBN, any of these products, they are psychogenic, which is why they were regulated initially in the medical CBD program. Psychogenic meaning it has an effect on the brain. It is not intoxicating at particular levels, but it is psychogenic. So that is important to understand. It does have an effect. There is a need for some regulation. The federal farm bill allows for products to be made into CBD that are not intoxicating per se, although when you get to a full spectrum CBD, that is intoxicating for some people depending on the variation. And because it's so wildly unregulated, some people are getting very intoxicated from some of the CBD products. So it does not eliminate any crops that you're growing for this production of ingestible hemp. But there are a lot of variations that I think are being left out in the conversation. And I'm just asking you, do you think that anything that I'm saying to you about the federal hemp law is inaccurate?
No, I don't. But I do think that, we have to keep in mind that, these cannabis in general has been with us for 12,000 years on this planet. It was a native species 12,000 years ago, and humans started to cultivate it. Mm-hmm. And for 12,000 years, we've used it for food, fiber, and medicine.
Yep.
And I don't think just because the last 84 years they made it illegal doesn't change the fact that it has been what it has been and what it will be. And I think we just need to make sure that this isn't a power grab to take away from the hemp farmers and from the hemp product sellers and give it to the people that you guys want to pick as winners. We can't do that. We have to have this as we need as many Virginians involved in this industry as possible.
Madam Chair,
that's mine. So thank you.
Delegate Adams.
So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Okay, in all contents, medical cannabis is very, very important.
Sure.
In particular, of course, adult use is another thing we're talking about.
Right.
But I think what's not happening here is an attempt to do a power grab of any kind. What is happening here is to put guardrails around some products that some are synthetic and some are not. Delta 8, as it is sold, we had one person say we want what's naturally grown in the plant. The amount of Delta 8 in a natural plant is so minuscule. You have to use very toxic solvents, right? So it's very different, and so we're trying to regulate that.
Delegate Adams, if you could pause for 1 moment.
Sure.
When we're doing committee, go through the chair as you speak to the delegate. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think, what I want to just clarify is that I think there's a misperception. What we're trying to do is create safety guardrails in an industry, as you said, that's been wildly new and unregulated, and to create product consistency, not to eliminate product, to create product consistency. So I just want to assure you that I think all of us up here want to do what's right for Virginians and right for farmers, right for business, but really have some strong guardrails, because it has been a problem that there's a proliferation of primarily out-of-state Delta 8 products, right? The CBD market's kind of flat, but that's not because of regulation. We haven't had any regulation. That's because there's an influx, and it's just sort of taken off since last April in particular. So I appreciate your comments. I agree with a lot of your comments, but I also disagree with some of your comments around intention. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for your testimony. With that, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to report.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Please prepare to vote. That bill reports out by a vote of 8-0.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members.
Thank you, Senator Hanger. Next up, we're going to have Senator Evan, if you give us just one quick moment.
Madam Chair, if I may state to Senator Hanger.
Senator Hanger.
Since this came out of subcommittee 8-0, you do not need to stick around for full committee.
That sounds good.
Okay.
I like him.
All right, Senator Evan, you can come on up. Senate Bill 391.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe the members of the subcommittee will have a chart that looks like this. What I've tried to do is distill this 451-page bill, double-spaced, so it's probably really only 225 pages, into a 6-page chart.
Senator Evan,
Yes.
you remember what we said earlier, brevity is an art form, right?
Yeah, this is a brief chart.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this bill, SB 391, is the only vehicle to establish a regulated and equitable adult use cannabis market in Virginia. And I've appreciated the bipartisan, thoughtful input and amendments that it has gone through to get to this point. The legislation is also the only vehicle to begin the crucial process of capturing the ballooning illicit market, already valued at roughly $2 billion annually in Virginia. Make no mistake, if we want to go unregulated and if we want to keep unregulated and altered products away from children and Virginians, this bill needs to advance. Products laced with ecstasy, contaminated with fentanyl, or trafficked in from out of state will reach Virginians without a well-regulated, small business-friendly market for cannabis that this bill would establish. Since we legalized simple possession of cannabis in 2021, state agencies, stakeholders, and my colleagues on the Cannabis Oversight Commission, including Delegates Campbell, Moorfield, Adams, and Krizak, have worked to contribute to the bill before you today, which stands up a consumer-focused, safe, taxed adult use market which is primed to serve as a vehicle for both economic development and transformational investments in pre-K, community revitalization, and addiction diversion and treatment. Most of you have seen this bill last year. I just want to briefly walk through some of the major provisions of the legislation and ensure that we all know what's before you. The legislation incorporates a transitional sales program which provides that sales would begin on September 15th with 4 pharmaceutical processors, a total of 6 facilities capped at 150,000 square feet of canopy and a $6 million entrance fee for that privilege, and in 10 industrial hemp processors, they would each have 3 total facilities capped at 75,000 square feet of canopy for the main facility that processes and pay a $500,000 entrance fee to be vertically integrated. The transitional sales period would last from September 15th of this year until January 1st, 2024, when the full market would open. The on-ramp is crucial for 3 reasons. One, it ensures that consumers can purchase safe, regulated products legally until the full market is open. It begins the long but crucial process of capturing illicit market sales, reducing crime and building a base for the market. And it will ensure the little guy, especially those most disadvantaged by the prohibition on cannabis, to receive the seed funding and startup support necessary to slingshot small Virginia businesses into economic successes. It could lead to 70 incubated licensees with $30 million in fees to seed those businesses. Eventually, the market would be overseen by the Cannabis Control Authority, a regulatory body vested with the authority to regulate all consumable cannabinoids, including Delta-8 and other synthesized products, grant licenses, disperse precision loans and investment dollars to economically disadvantaged communities. The areas that differ from last year's reenactment include Northam administration cleanup language, recommendations of the Cannabis Oversight Commission, and JLARC recommendations from their review of the 2021 bill. It ensures that those most significantly impacted by the criminalization of cannabis would get a fair shake at building generational wealth through the industry and receive the training and support they need to enter this complex marketplace. The bill also focuses on undoing the harms of prohibition, providing for fiscally responsible, vetted approaches to record sealing and resentencing for nonviolent cannabis crimes. It also sets out appropriate measured penalties for the illegal sale and distribution of cannabis to close the door on the black market without recriminalizing law-abiding citizens. It sets a mid-range penalty for possession in public or on your person of 4 ounces, which is 4 times the current 1 ounce limit, which is punished as a Class 3 misdemeanor for a first offense and a Class 2 misdemeanor for a second or subsequent. It sets an upper possession limit for home or other non-public place of 4 pounds, which is 4 times the 1 pound limit, which is punished the same as having more than a pound in public, which is a significant penalty of 1 to 10 years incarceration. It allows businesses under 8,000 square feet to vertically integrate to encourage small craft businesses with Virginia farmers. It adds a professional marijuana testing lab expert and consumer advocate to the Cannabis Public Health Advisory Board, allows any locality to levy a 3% tax on retail marijuana sales, and this legislation allows for any locality to pass an opt-out referendum to ban cannabis business within their borders. And I'm almost done. I do want to be clear, this bill does requires we redress the harms made by over-policing cannabis. It requires equity. Equity as defined in this bill requires our reinvestment in the communities most impacted by the war on drugs, provides an on-ramp to participate in and build wealth from the industry for those most impacted by cannabis enforcement, repairs the existing harms of criminalization for those with existing records, and ensures public health and equitable treatment by the industry for all. The General Assembly will establish Virginia's future on cannabis this year. The question is whether that future will be a regulated, confined marketplace limited to adults, or an unregulated, proliferating illicit market supporting organized crime without strong barriers to youth access. So I'm prepared to take any questions on this chart, which doesn't contain every provision in the bill, but this contains the changes from last year. And one I didn't mention is former Governor Northam had inserted in the substitute that was adopted by the General Assembly in the veto session, he inserted some union language. And this bill is silent on that. It doesn't have any language referring to unions.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Do we have any questions of the patron from the committee? Okay. I think we'll go ahead and start with support, then opposition. We're going to do 12 minutes each side. If you're echoing someone else's sentiment, please be brief.
Madam Chair, members of this distinguished body, my name is Dylan Bishop, again on behalf of the Cannabis Business Association of Virginia. What we have before us is not asking you to pass judgment on the issue of legalization. That is already set in the code. So right now what we have is an upside-down market where it's legal for adults to possess and consume cannabis, but no lawful means of cultivating it and procuring this cannabis. So what we have is an illicit market. We often have unsafe, untested products coming in from China, sometimes containing fentanyl, and that's a consumer safety hazard for your constituents. And as that black market grows, that illicit market grows, it does so at the expense of legitimate businessmen and women here in the Commonwealth and Virginia's farmers. So without getting into the weeds of the bill, if you'll excuse my joke, we need a vehicle to rein in the black market. So the decision before you is not to legalize cannabis or not, because again, that decision has already been made. The decision is whether we let the illicit, unregulated, unsafe black market persist, or we get our arms around this black market and are able to adequately enforce these unsafe conditions we have now. Thank you, ma'am.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Greg Habib from Gentry Lock, here on behalf of several dozen hemp growers and processors here in Virginia. You all know this issue, and you've heard it for several years now, so there's just a couple specific points that I want to make. Number one, we hope you will advance a bill today so that this issue can stay alive and get to conference and be discussed to try to come up with a holistic, once-and-for-all solution to these issues. Whatever the terms of the bill may be, please advance a bill. That's point number one. Point number two, in doing so, please recognize the important role that Virginia agriculture, small farmers, medium-sized, large, all of them, please respect Virginia farmers, especially hemp growers and processors. And then three, one point of clarification I want to make because it's being lost. The term hemp processor has become synonymous with farmer in Virginia, and that's not actually what it means. There are three types of hemp registrations. There are hemp growers, there are hemp processors, and there are hemp dealers. Many folks hold all three of those registrations. So processor has become synonymous with farmer. But for example, in this bill, there's a requirement to be one of the early sort of special category of hemp folks. You have to have processed 40,000 pounds of hemp. That disregards the hemp growers who may have grown that amount of hemp but aren't the processor who processed it. Almost all of my clients, if not all of my clients, hold processor registrations. So that's an important role, but don't think it's synonymous with growers. So if you want to take care of Virginia farmers, hemp folks in Virginia, make sure you acknowledge growers, processors, and dealers as different things. And then just report a bill so we can keep working. Thank y'all.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, J.M. Padini on behalf of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Thank you, Senator Eben, for your continued work on this issue. We support the bill.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Sarah Payne for Jushi, the medical cannabis pharmaceutical processor in Northern Virginia. We'd like to thank Senator Eben and Senator McPike, along with the other members of the Cannabis Legislative Oversight Commission, for their continued very hard work on this complicated issue. It is important for Virginia to proactively address cannabis holistically. It is a public safety issue. We hope that that is prioritized going forward. We agree that we would love to see a bill advance so it can continue to be worked on, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Good evening. Scott Johnson, representing Golden Piedmont Labs. We are a hemp processor, food grade in South Boston, Virginia. We partner with our farmers down there. I want to thank Senator Eben for his work on the bill, but draw your attention to one particular thing as you're working through this. I think it's 4.1-801, and Mr. May will correct me, but in that section it basically says if you're going to be able to grow, manufacture, process hemp, it has to be marijuana, it's got to be separate and apart from hemp. So think about it for a minute. Our farmers got John Deere tractors. They're raising hemp for us. We're processing it in a facility with $10 million plus of equipment in there, food-grade equipment, and the legislation is drafted would say we could use none of that. We couldn't use the warehouses, tractor trailers, forklifts, nothing. And I don't think that's very prudent. So as you're navigating through this, make sure you're not overlooking the farmers and folks that we represent in South Boston and the small companies, because if you can safely use this, and we support, again, food grade, it doesn't make sense that that prohibition's in there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jenny Bivens, and this is Louisa Worrell. We are here representing our company, Cativa Health. We are a health and wellness company based in Suffolk, Virginia. Our CBD and hemp products, including sublingual tablets, oil tinctures, gummies, drinks, and more, are science-backed and supported by our patented technology developed by Princeton University. We actually started several years ago by developing technology to help regulate edibles. And we transitioned into bringing our own products to market because we recognize the vast need. So today we are a small company of about 20 diverse employees who effectively represent and serve the community in which we live. We strongly value compliance and safety, and our products are solely marketed and sold to adults. And that aim is considered in all aspects of our business, from development in our packaging, childproof packaging, and our
third-party lab testing.
Third-party lab testing, yes. So today we strongly value safety. So we're just here to simply ask you that any forthcoming bills, you strongly support the safety of Virginians, and that you support the small Virginian-owned businesses and our entrepreneurial spirit. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Robert Melvin with the Virginia Restaurant, Lodging, and Travel Association. We're supportive of this measure and the visitors I can attract to Virginia. Thank you.
Anyone else in support? All right, we're going to go to online testimony. Actually, no, we're going to go with opposition first.
Good evening, Chair.
My name is Nita Mencia, and I live in Suffolk, and I have a farm in Surrey County. I am a hemp grower, a licensed hemp grower and processor, and I am mixed with this bill. I believe we need a bill, but I believe there are significant changes in this bill that are required. SB 391 restricts competition and promotes monopolization by large pharmaceutical companies that primarily originated out of state. And SB 391 creates an unregulated sub-cannabis market that supports illegal drug sales and does not reduce it. I'll give you a couple of reasons why I think it restricts competition. Number one, it limits canopy size to 8,000 square feet for a vertically integrated small business, but allows pharmaceutical companies up to 150,000 square feet of canopy. It limits the number of vertically integrated companies unless you're not a large pharmaceutical company, and it prohibits businesses to have B2B collaboration between them that are fully licensed without a special permit, which negatively impacts the collaboration between small companies. Secondly, the bill supports the growth and development of an unregulated yet sub-cannabis market. It allows home growers to maintain up to 4 pounds of cannabis inventory, which is equivalent to 6,000 joints. Why would anybody need 6,000 joints? Your average chain smoker does not have 4 pounds of tobacco. So I don't understand why you need 4 pounds of marijuana in your possession. I would suggest this governing body look to the ABC model or the ABC laws as a model that will work. At its core, it's charged to prevent undue competitive domination of any person by any other person engaged in the cultivation, manufacture, distribution, and sale or resale, retail or wholesale. You have it already there. You can copy it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And it's a way to accelerate cannabis in a manner that's safe, that does not support an illegal market just because you can home grow and keep in 4 pounds. That's it. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, members, Tom and Torsha with the Virginia Catholic Conference. We oppose Senate Bill 391. I'd like to preface that by saying that regardless of how you, as this committee, feel about adult use, we should all agree that cannabis harms kids. We can agree to have a conversation about this subject, but we should not agree to have a rushed conversation on this subject or this issue. And with that being said, I'd like to address the main argument that's being brought forward in this iteration of SB 391, and that is the illicit market. This bill does nothing to improve the situation with regard to the illicit market. We only need to look at states like California and Oregon to see the fact that the illicit market only thrives with legislation like this. Case in point, Oregon. In December, the Press Herald in Oregon reports Oregon devoting $25 million to help authorities combat illegal marijuana farms, theft of water during a drought, exploitation of immigrant laborers, intimidation of residents by armed criminals. A Democratic state senator from the Southern Oregon said...
Can I interrupt you for a second? Please try to keep it streamlined to the bill, if you can, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
So with regard to this bill, it will not address the illicit market for the same reasons addressed here in Oregon, Madam Chair, because as is happening there, the illicit market is using the legal market as a cover. So they're buying up hemp farms, they're growing THC to sell in other states illegally, and so this is a very, very damaging trend in Oregon and California. I would just add that the sheriff out there in Jackson County, the illicit, he says that Nathan Sickler told lawmakers in Oregon the cartels have a business model, put up more cannabis illegal grows than law enforcement can ever get. They know we're going to get some, but they know we can't get it all. And the illicit industry there is generating billions of dollars in profits and is financed by a well-heeled foreign criminal gangs and drug cartels, law enforcement officials said. I'd like to introduce this article into the record. Secondly, California passed a $100 million bailout of their legal market because it was on the brink of bankruptcy. They've had a commercial market since 2016. 5 years later, for every one legal outlet of cannabis, there are 3 illegal ones. That is not regulating an illegal market. It's only exploding in California and Oregon. And lastly, we are concerned about the health issues of this bill, and I will let the other folks speak to that issue. Primarily, you've heard from Dr. Bertha Madras from Harvard University in full committee here back on February 1st. I'd like to introduce in the record a letter from Dr. Deepak D'Souza, professor of psychiatry at the Yale University School of Medicine, and he addresses those issues as well. Thank you for your time, Madam Chair. And I'd like to hand this to the clerk, if I may.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee, Todd Gackey on behalf of the Family Foundation. Also, dad of 4, 3 teenagers, 1 soon to be, and many who are parents, who have teenagers, who have young kids, understand the challenges we face, the challenges they face in school. And there are many, many reasons to reject Senate Bill 391 and reject this notion of commercializing high-potency THC, but I'll give you 2. And the first one is we can look at this maybe more of a youth cannabis addiction plan, because we know, all right, it says in here that it's focusing on adult use, and maybe there's some provisions in there to limit marketing. But let's be honest that the goal is to attract new customers, and in particular the youth, mine and your teenagers. And the only way that that can be accomplished is by creating what the industry needs, which is a regulated retail market. And the second is it jeopardizes the health and the safety of our youth, including the unborn. Marijuana products lead to more addictions, anxiety disorders, psychotic disorders, and memory impairment. Memory use in pregnant women is surging, resulting in preterm deliveries, neonatal ICU increases, and more. In Colorado, since commercialization of marijuana, emergency room visits of toddlers who have consumed edibles has increased 54%. And in Colorado, the rate of teen suicide from 2016 to 2019 increased by 58%. And as many of you know, suicide is a real problem here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. My kids just had a friend take his life. And commercialization of marijuana and cannabis products will exacerbate those problems. There is no good way to regulate high-potency THC, and there is nothing redeemable that can come out of this bill. I ask you to reject it today. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the room in opposition to the bill? All right, next we're going to take online testimony. I believe we have about 4.5 minutes left. So first we'll start with, who's in the room? George.
There are 2 people.
All right, we'll start with Derek Wall, if you can let him into the room.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Derek Wall with the Buffalo Hemp Company in Floyd, Virginia. We are a small CBD hemp operation with 3 retail stores. We have a grow operation. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the bill, but I also think it needs changes. The way it's set up now, it's going to definitely profit the pharmaceutical companies, the medical marijuana guys that have been in and giving them a canopy of 150,000 square feet seems very unfair to the Virginians and the people that have been in this industry, in the hemp industry, that are looking to transition. It's just a very fair advantage, and letting them go early. We need to have, an equal start in this, and I think the only way to do that is to allow a certain amount of processors. And the processing term in general, like Mr. Habib said, is a loaded statement. And the fact that in the bill it states that there's 40,000 pounds that need to be processed, that is not a qualification to make someone have the ability to be able to go into the marijuana industry. Those folks maybe haven't even grown one plant. They may have hired farmers, whatever the case may be. But we have grown. We have opened retail dispensaries. We are very versed in this market, and we have the ability to make Virginians proud in this industry. So I want to make sure that everybody in the House and Senate understand that there are good Virginia businesses that can be represented in this industry, and we hope to have the chance at the same time as everyone else with the same amount of canopy cap and all the other kind of regulations that you got.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Next, we'll take Paul Larkin.
Madam Chairman, can you see and hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. We only have a couple minutes left for opposition, so if you can please be brief. Thank you.
I understand and will. I want to thank you for this opportunity and ask that my written submissions be made part of the record. I will briefly make 2 points not yet made. First, the Senate bill will lead to the maiming and death of innocent parties who will become needless casualties in the pursuit of a party drug. Why? The bill does not address the problem of drug-impaired driving that already exists, and the problem will only worsen were this bill to become law. That conclusion is inevitable for 2 reasons. One is a matter of science, the other a matter of experience. As to the science, the principal psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, THC, impairs the mental functioning necessary safely to handle a motor vehicle by slowing reaction time, weakening attention span, and in several other ways. The witnesses who testified at the full General Laws Committee hearing on February 1 explained those facts in detail, and I will not reiterate them. As far as history, there was evidence prior to 2021 that Virginians had increasingly chosen to drive after using cannabis. Legalization is likely to further increase the number of Virginians who do so, as well as the amount they consume. Experience in other states, such as Colorado, reveals that some new cannabis users will drive under its influence. They will cause crashes that will maim and kill the people in the Commonwealth. It would be utterly irresponsible, in my opinion, to legalize commercial cannabis sales without also acting to address the inevitable consequences of increased drug-impaired driving. Secondly, if the General Assembly were to legalize commercial cannabis sales, the Commonwealth should own and operate cannabis distribution facilities and allow it to be sold only through Virginia ABC stores. Cannabis consumption, like alcohol consumption, follows what is called the 80-20 rule, sometimes known as Pareto's Law. 80% of the volume is consumed by only 20% of the users. What does that mean? From the perspective of cannabis vendors, drug abuse is not an unfortunate side effect of legalization. On the contrary, drug abusers are the target demographic. Retailers want consumers to overindulge because that increases their profits. Accordingly, we can expect a private legal commercial cannabis industry to dedicate its marketing practices and lobbying agenda to create and sustain problem drug use. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Next, we're going to take one more person. We have maybe a minute and a half left. Next, we're going to take Dr. Mary Crozier, and that'll be the last testimony from online.
Hello. This is Dr. Mary Crozier. Thank you for this opportunity, Madam Speaker. I'm a retired college professor, and I've been in the field of substance abuse research, education, prevention, and early intervention for over 40 years. I oppose SB 391. This bill would essentially commercialize a psychoactive addictive drug, opening the door to marijuana tourism and negative consequences like pediatric poisoning, increased availability and use of marijuana, state fiscal challenges, etc. The most dramatic negative consequence would be use by our young people. Despite laws to limit youth access, We all know that they use other state-controlled drugs like alcohol and tobacco. This bill would not reduce illicit trafficking since traffickers don't intend to pay taxes, and they would be less likely to get caught with all this other product around. Also, this bill would not guarantee a safer drug since there are insufficient funds to adequately monitor the growing, manufacturing, and distribution of the drug. We need as many roadblocks and disincentives for drug use as possible. Virginians must not fall prey to marijuana lobbyists and their big corporations. We've been duped by big tobacco and big pharma before. Thank you for opposing SB 391 and helping all Virginians. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crozier. So I'm going to take a brief moment and speak to some folks in the room. There's a lot to synthesize here with this bill, but I'm going to give Senator Evan the last word before we make any motions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to briefly respond to 3 points. I think it's clear that the product can be used responsibly. I reject the assertion that a legal adult marketplace does not cut into the illicit market. And further, one benefit of the increase in cannabis being legally available is that it's been shown in studies to lead to a decrease in opioid overdoses. So like any product, it needs to be used responsibly, and that's why we want to limit it to adults and why we want to make sure that it's not a product that's been, we want a tested product that does not have additives that people don't know what they're getting. There are opportunities for small businesses and medical patients and for Virginians that would evaporate without legal cannabis. We have a burgeoning medical cannabis industry, but it's not booming to the point that it's as profitable without having legal sales as well for some of those companies. And the reason that we prioritize those companies along with some hemp processors for early sales is to meet demand for a regulated, tested product. And I'm available for your questions.
Senator Rubin, I appreciate bringing the bill. There's a lot we still need to synthesize, I think, from this committee. There's a lot of people in this room, I think, that still haven't gotten around to some of these members in the full Committee of General Laws. What I really like to see, there was a lot of divergent thought and opinion here, and there was a lot of even what some might consider misinformation or information that was not exactly true. Some people I don't think read the bill. And so I would like to give this committee the weekend to look this bill over with the understanding that we will docket on Monday. Because there's a lot for us to work through. So we won't be entertaining any substitutes or amendments at this point. We're going to give everybody in this room and yourself and the others in this committee to ask the right questions over the weekend. And with that, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Chair.
Delegate Campbell.
Let me say, I've been here 9 years. This is my 9th session, and I will say with all sincerity that the issue we are undertaking right here has the ability to have the most long-lasting, profound, and wide-ranging impact on not only the stakeholders in this room and the interested persons who want to see a market develop, but on every Virginian. It's a sobering proposition, pardon the pun. It's something, obviously, that this committee and the Cannabis Oversight Commission, and particularly Senator Evan, who I want to thank for working so hard on this for so long. It's something that has not been taken lightly by anyone here. But it's very important that we get this right. We're only going to get one chance. And so, having said that, Madam Chair, I would move that we carry this by till Monday. Second.
We have a move and a second to take it by for the day. All those, please prepare to vote.
Voice vote.
Voice vote? Oh. SB 391 has been taken by for the day. With that, we have no other business before subcommittee number 5, so the committee shall rise.